even though this is Black Love, and to be able to talk about my dad and his birthday is next Tuesday, it's like a prelude, like, ooh, daddy.
Naya Akoma, the official greeting for Black Love Day, a day that invites us to reflect on how love shows up in our lives, especially through family and lineage. Today's conversation is with Dr. Brenda Bradley, and we're going to talk about how Black Love Day reminds us that love is not erased by death. We're going to talk about our relationship with our fathers and how that relationship continues to transform us and teach us, and how our dad, our fathers, and their legacy lives on through who we are becoming. If you haven't been here before, my name is Donna Marie, death doula, celebrant, end of life, and love legacy guide and educator, and welcome to the Sacred Moments Podcast. This is a space to normalize heartfelt conversations around mortality, grief, love legacy, and end of life planning. Before we move with the conversation, please don't forget, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell so you know when new episodes are available. Like the content, share your comments. I want to hear from you.
Naya Akoma.
Yes.
Naya Akoma.
Well, thank you for being
So
here.
thank you for having me. When you wrote I think I saw it on Facebook, correct me if I'm wrong, and I responded to you. You was talking about your dad, and it made me just sit down. I just had to sit down because I felt all of that. And you wrote, it was so nice. And so that's why I responded. It's like, wow,
And
I'm
when
not the only one.
right, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. Sharing a story makes a difference in the lives of other people because they know, like you did when you saw my story, I'm not
Yeah.
alone in
It
this.
wasn't so much really what you said, it's how it was worded that created feelings.
Mm,
So, and when I felt it, that's why I say I felt it. I was like, oh, I know where she is.
yes,
And that point of presence is always going to show up
yes,
when you least expect it. You won't even know. It just
right.
happens.
You already know I have interviewed your brother, and
Yes.
we talked a bit about his relationship and his processing of his grief after your father passed away. And his life is inspiring, and he's sharing all the time on social media, encouraging others to move their body and to be fit and healthy and eat clean. Previously, you and I connected over essential oils and juicing. There's not a whole lot I do know about you. So please share with the audience who Dr. Brenda Bradley is and what you do in life.
Dr. Brenda Brand. Well, first of all, let me say thank you again. I love connecting with people and I love what you do because you meet people where they are, and that's very important. So, as for me, I am Dr. Brenda Bradley, but I just like Brenda, to be honest with you. From Arkansas, when I tell people I was born and raised in a small town, 292 people,
Oh my.
uh, Madison, Arkansas, from a family I have one sister who's the oldest, and I have three brothers. And of course, my mom and dad, we all grew up together in the same household. I am a daddy's girl. So
Mhm.
whatever he would say, it was written in stone for as far as I'm concerned. So I left home. I joined the Air Force. Had a wonderful time in the Air Force. After I left the Air Force, I started working in corporate as a procurement manager. And one day I woke up, Donna, and when I was in the Air Force, I was misfit. Um, my gig line, my clothes fit very well. I went to the gym a lot. I did all of that. I woke up one morning after leaving the military, working in corporate. I'm weighing 236 pounds. Life is not good. I have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I was dealing with bouts of depression because I didn't know how to get back to being whole again. And so I just kind of spiraled out of control. And then one day, fast forward, I learned the power of food, and I allowed
Mm.
food to become my medicine. And because it was my poison. And you'll hear me always say, allow food to be your medicine, never your poison. That is coming from a place deep inside of me, because once I understood the power of food and I made the changes, life has been great. Within the 3 months, I was taking off all that medication. I'm not a person to
Wow.
take medication anyway. And then within 10 months, I had lost over 70 pounds. I'm not taking anything, no supplements or anything like that, no weight loss. When I say supplement, I mean weight loss stuff. I was just eating food. I started studying it. So then I um, went back to school to learn all about it. And so that's when you started hearing me talk about essential oils and all that. So I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and I became a certified health coach. If I could just save or help one person, I've done my job. And I
Yes.
was just so excited to know that you can really do it. You know, you just have to believe. And so that's what I did. And my brother, who you interviewed before, he was very inspirational in that because he really started before I did. And I was the one to say, I'm not doing that. I'm not. And pretty soon I was like, well, let me try it because nothing else was working. And so it's been 14 years now that
Wow.
I have never looked back. Everything checks good. I love when I go to the doctor. Excuse me. I go to the doctor twice a year,
Hmm.
and that is just to check, do blood work and make sure. For those that of you all that are listening or will be listening, I go because I am plant-based. I don't eat meat or any dairy products or anything. Some people might just say, "Oh, she's vegan," but if that helps you to understand, then that's what it is. And it's been 14 years, and I feel great, and that's what I do. So I go to the doctor to get my blood checked to make sure that I have no deficiencies. Because one of the things that I do, a person that doesn't eat, dairy and all of that, you'll find the deficiency is in what we call B12. It's a vitamin B12. And then another one is vitamin D, but you don't have to be vegan. I think everybody should be taking
Yeah.
both of them. You know, the soil is so depleted of natural resources. And so we still have, there's a lot of deficiencies out there. And I want to tie that into my dad is for years growing up, my dad wouldn't eat chicken. And we were like, what's wrong with him? And one day he told me, he said, because they're my friends. I never understood that.
Oh,
But I even would look at him and say, but is it okay for me? He said, if that's what you want to do, baby girl. I was like, okay. And I did. But he never had any problems with his health or anything. We were just running around there eating any and everything. And
you
so
call yourself the fairy. Tell me. I don't.
the fairy godmother of food. Because it was so amazing to me. I would go in the kitchen and there's vegetables and fruit, and I would hold like a vegetable and say, I wonder what could I turn this into? And so that's where that came from. Then it's like, wow. Then my daughter and other people was like, you just made that out of that vegetable? Like, yes, like, yeah, you're the fairy godmother of food. Donna, I have to say to anyone is sometimes it's not all just about the food that you're eating. What are you holding in there?
Yes.
Trauma? What is in your DNA? What has happened? Because
Yes.
sometimes we hold, emotions. We hold, something mental. It's not all about our physical. It's about everything else. So when I became vegan, that's what was amazing to me. I started seeing things that I never really saw, like the flower on the side of the road just
Yeah.
blossoming. It's just so it's like you become connected with nature. You
Yeah.
start seeing what you need to see. And then I call it an awakening, a higher consciousness that you become aware. And another thing that is so beautiful, you start loving a way that you never really even you love the people that even give you the finger. You're like, oh, I love you. Oh, forgive that poor soul. So it's just so much to the lifestyle. And so that's why
My first juice fast was 7 days. I lost 10 pounds in 7 days.
I believe it.
I was mad because I'm skinny. I don't want to lose no weight. My shoes were even too big, Brenda. I'm like,
Wow.
listen, this is too much.
Wow.
Lost
Your
10
body
pounds in
probably was
seven
like,
days.
what is she doing? Stop.
But I didn't have any negative side effects. I felt good. You know, we are here to talk about our dads, but all of this is Black love conversation. This is Black Love Day. Let's name our fathers. What is your
James.
James Bradley.
James Willie D. Bradley, Sr.
And my father is Cleavon Walker, no middle name, Cleavon
Okay.
Walker. So the story goes, um, I had gone home to celebrate my dad's 74th birthday. Thursday, we went out to dinner. My dad used to love beer, and on Thursday, he ordered a beer, last beer he had in his life. But that was Thursday. And then Friday, we were having a birthday party, but he got sick that Friday morning and was rushed to the hospital by ambulance. I was his last visitor on Sunday night. And I took pictures on Sunday night. I prayed with my dad. I told him how much I loved him. Um, but I never even once thought this could be my last time seeing my dad. He was having conversation with the ancestors, his mom, his brother who had deceased, like all the clues were there, and the whole family was in denial and ignoring it. And on Monday morning, I had a 6 a.m. flight to come back to back to Louis, where do I live? Back to DC from Louisiana. And I stayed as late as I could with my dad. And I left. And when I left, I said, Dad, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Never ever thought this could be the last. I'm glad I took the pictures and prayed and hugged him and told him I loved him. But I would have probably responded a lot differently had I thought about death. And I never ever did. And so then on Monday, as soon as the wheels touched down on that flight, my niece had texted me to say Grandpa died. My heart just dropped. I couldn't cry. I was numb. And that's one of the reasons, that's the main reason I became a death doula. I don't want people not to think about living and being present and recognizing moments as sacred because they're in denial and afraid to think about death and afraid to think about losing their loved one. He had been sick for 8 years, and 8 years prior to his death, a doctor told us after he had several strokes back to back, prepare yourself, he's not going to last long. And my mother is an exceptional nurse, so she proved that doctor wrong. And my dad lived 8 more years. And by the eighth year, nobody cared what that doctor said. Like, he's going to outlive all of us, was our thought. The grieving process after that, I think that's when I started eating whatever I wanted to eat. So a lot of things happened that year. It was August 4th, 2014. My mother had never lived alone in her adult life. She had been married to my father since she was 19 years old. Um, so she became a widow. My daughter went to grad school. I became an empty nester, and my daughter was living on her own for the first time in her adult life. So three women on this journey of being independent and alone. And me being in this house, I thought I had prepared myself for empty nest life. Being in this house alone and processing my grief and going back to childhood and having to forgive myself because I left my dad alone. It took a long time, 5 years. And then after that was COVID.
Mm.
And then I had the accident. So it was like back to back, even though it was years and years in between, it was back to back incidents that kept me just searching for joy. And like you said, what was going on inside of me kept me eating the foods that kept me feeling down emotionally. And a lot of times I was eating to try to fulfill something or find something inside of myself. And nothing I ate was fulfilling, nothing I ate satisfied, nothing. So I was kind of lost in my grief. It was a long, long emotional process for me.
I even now, after my dad passed away, it's what happens when everybody leaves. The
Hmm.
calls don't come anymore, you're in that house now by yourself, that
Hmm.
empty
Hmm.
house by yourself. And it does something to you where you probably wake up in the middle of the night because you're in disbelief, like, wait a minute, this can't be, not my dad.
Yeah,
Not the first man who ever loved me, who held my hand, who hugged. No way. You mean to tell me, no, this got to be a dream
yeah,
because I need my dad. It's those moments. And so when I read, and now when I was listening to you talk, I was like, yeah, that's that post that she put. Yeah. And I just sit down and I say, oh, wow, that hurts. That hurts. Yeah. So
So tell me about a little about James Willie D. Bradley Sr. What tell me about your dad?
my dad was a king in my eye.
Yes.
He was a provider. He loved all of us. Um, he was sometimes a lot soft spoken. Um, he loved motorcycles. He loved doing things, helping people with their lawnmower. Whenever someone needed something fixed, they would come to our house. And my dad had we call it in Arkansas, outer house, but most people say a shed or, or a man cave, but it was behind our house. And we were never allowed to go in there. I mean, he had recliner chair, but the people when they would come, they knew to go back there, and he would be out there, and he would fixing someone's lawnmower. He worked as like a locksmith. He worked for a corporation called Eaton, um, like Yale. Like if you look on some of your locks,
Mm-hmm.
it'll say Yale, Yale. He worked there at that, and he retired from that. He loved the Lord. He was in the pulpit. He would preach sometimes, and so he was just someone that I, totally looked up to. Um, I'm not going to say he caused problems as I became older and left home and trying to enter into relationships. That was a little difficult for me because no one matched my dad. I'm like, hey, do you know how to fix a car or something? And they were like, no. And I would be like, oh, I can't even bring you home. My dad would be like, this young man can't do what? He don't know how to change a flat. So it was things like that. So I was always comparing men to my dad.
Yes.
It's like looking for my dad. Um, but my story of losing my dad was so let me mention, I have an older sister. She's the firstborn. So it's two girls and three boys. Well, me and my sister are daddy's girl. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm more of the daddy girl. But she would tell you, oh, We would actually have little confrontation like, no, that's my dad. But yeah,
Same here. Same
she
here.
is the daddy girl. So in 2014, my dad he had a stroke. And he had his stroke the day after Thanksgiving. And
Mm.
sometimes I smile and I'd be like, I wonder what did he eat to cause that. It's just an inside joke for
Well,
me,
we know it wasn't chicken.
right? Oh, that was funny. I'm gonna be laughing at that. So when he had it, we found out that he was medevac. So I was living in Maryland, my sister living in Texas, and my dad was in Arkansas. So they medevaced him to Tennessee. And so my sister immediately called me and she was telling me that the doctor said that he was not going to see the next year. And
Mm.
my sister was like, hey, I'm not ready. What do we do? And I said, go get him. She's like, what? I said, go and get him. You know he don't want to be there. And you know what he told us. He don't want to die in no hospital. He want to be walking and talking when he died. My sister got in her car from Texas and drove all the way to Tennessee and she checked him out and she brought him all the way back to Texas. And it was my sister that nursed him back to good health.
Oh, wow. That's
It was
beautiful.
amazing. It was amazing. And so he did see the next year in the months and the months and the months and the months. And then he was able to walk again because he couldn't walk. So he was able to walk. He was able to put on his suit. He loved wearing suits. And that's
Hmm.
another thing I want to say about my dad. He was always well dressed. I never, even when he would be outside fixing lawnmowers, like, so of course I'm looking at other men like, you don't even dress right, all because of my dad. So My sister called me and she said, Dad want to see you. I was like, oh, I'm scared. And I was scared because I told her that to go and get him. So I'm thinking that, oh my God. And then she said, no, Brenda, just come. I was like, oh, I'm scared. He's going to chastise me. So I remember my sister said, hey, Dad, someone here to see you. And he said, oh, I know who it is. And she's like, who? He said, that's baby girl. That's Brenda. When my dad was in the bedroom, I stayed in the bedroom and he and I was looking at television and all of that. And I really learned some things that I didn't even really know. So
Hmm.
he was watching something on TV and I said, Dad, can I change the channel? I don't want to see this. And he said, yes. So I like watching National Geographic. I like documentaries. I like anything nature. And so I put it on a natural Geographic Channel. And he said, oh my, it's you. And I said, what? He said, I always wonder which one of my children would take after me as watching these shows and stuff. I said, oh yes. I said, Dad, do you know what a honey badger is? He said, of course I know what a honey badger is. So at that time, my sister came into the room and I said, I bet you she don't know. And she said, what are y'all talking about? And I said, we're talking about honey badgers. She's like, what? We said, so my dad started laughing. He said, she don't know. So it was like, it was fun. So what I always got to do was, as you know, he started getting tired and I kind of like looked at him and because I really didn't want to leave the room. And he said, I know, come on, you can get in the bed with me.
Oh, that's so
And I got in the
special.
bed and I was like, oh, he's that time that he told me some very intimate things and he shared some things with me. And it was just amazing to me. He talked about death.
Mm,
And at one point he said, look over in the corner and tell me, what do you see? And I said, Dad, I just see a plant. He said, ask me. I said, Dad, what do you see? He said, I see the death angel. I said, don't
mm,
do that. He said, and I'm so glad you don't see it because you never want to see it. I said, Dad, don't do that. He said, no, we need to have this conversation and I'm going to
wow.
have it with you. And I said, okay. So I knew that I needed to be quiet and let him talk. And he was telling me, he said, I see all kinds of things. I see people, they come through the wall and they come in the condition that they died in. I said, are you afraid? He said, no, it's just letting me know that death is coming and I'm okay. And I want to see you to say, thank your sister. Thank you all for bringing me back to good health so that I can have these conversations, so that I can talk. And
That's
so it was
beautiful.
one of those. And so he kind of prepared me and he said, listen, I am not going to make it out of this year. And I
Mm,
want you to know that I am okay. He said, listen, Brenda, you're going to go, you're going to see my body. And I hope y'all put a gray suit on me because he wore a gray suit. He said, you're going to see my body. And I want you to know I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be that person that you're wondering who's holding you up. That's going to be me. I'm going to be right there beside you. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah. And I'm going to be with you. I know I'm going to be with you. So whenever you get lonely or whatever, just go look in the mirror. You'll see me. But you got to look real hard. And
yeah.
so I carried that. And so November 2nd, I'm working and my brother, who you met, Jarvis, he called me and I looked at my phone. I was like, it's 4 o'clock. And so I'm like, I answer the phone, da da da. And he's like, Brenda, what are you doing? I said, what do you think I'm doing? I'm at work. Why are you calling me? And then he just went right into it. He said, Dad died today. I said, okay. I said, well, I'm working. And can I talk to you later? He was like, really? I said, yeah, I gotta go. So I hung up the phone and I looked at it and I was like, I don't feel nothing. I mean, he can't be gone because I don't feel anything. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, I think I better get up. I logged off. I didn't even tell anybody I was leaving. I just walked out, got on the elevator, went to my car, driving home because I worked in Virginia at the time. So I'm driving back to Maryland. And so my brother called me again. He was like, Brenda, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing what Dad would have wanted me to do. I'm on my way to the gym. I went to the gym and I had a great workout.
Wow.
I did. I went to the gym and then I went home and I sit in my favorite chair. And where my chair was sitting, if I turned my head to the right, I could look in my kitchen, and I had a light over my stove. I mean, over my sink,
Okay.
and I was just sitting in the dark, and I had that light on, and I turned, and the light. It was one of those long, like a fluorescent bulb, the long ones.
Hmm.
It had a frequency, it was moving like the tune of music. And I just stood there and I was like, Dad? And something said, get your phone. Nobody is going to believe this. And I videotaped to this day, I still have it in my phone. Because,
Wow.
yeah, and I'm like, and I showed my brother, I said, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. And I said, Dad wants you to know. And he stopped me. He said, Brenda, don't do that. Dad hasn't told you nothing. I was prepared. So, I go to the funeral and everything. And I look and I said, wow. And I was talking to him. I was like, Dad, you do look good in here. Look at you. And then at one point when I was viewing his body, I just turned immediately like, like, are you standing beside me? Because he had told me all those things. So I handled it
Yeah.
pretty well, but it's like I needed to be there for my family, especially my oldest brother who took it very, very hard because they lived together at one point.
Hmm.
Um, but it was just, and we got through it. But the thing that is afterwards. So I'm an empty nester. I'm in this house. Everybody's gone. There's nobody there. My children are grown and gone. And I'm in there and I'm like, nah, you know what? Let me call my daddy. I know. So I called, no answer. I'm like, okay, let me leave a message. So it's things like that that
Yeah.
happen. You go through it and you grieve. And when
Yeah.
it comes to grief, no one should ever tell anyone how to grieve
Or how long?
or how long. I'm going to grieve as far as my dad, if I use that term, I will grieve always. But my form of grief is, it might sound kind of crazy, but my form of grief is my way of bringing my dad back.
Yes.
When I think of it, because one day, so I like cutting grass because my dad cut grass and my dad taught me how to cut grass. So I had a lawnmower. So I went to my garage. I'm in Maryland. I was like, you know what? Let me cut this grass and do all these type of things. So I go out there and the lawnmower wouldn't start. So I'm like, hmm, okay, what did he teach me? What did he teach me? So I'm taking things apart. I'm checking the oil. I'm taking the little carburetor thing off. And I'm like, okay, all right. And then I started laughing. I said, well, I didn't do the first thing. See if there's any gas in it. so, so there was gas in it. So I did all this troubleshooting. It still wouldn't start. I was like, okay, am I missing something? So you go through all of it. So at that point, I said, Dad, so let me call him because he's going to ask me all these things and I'm going to be prepared and he's going to be proud of me that I did all of that before I asked him. And so I picked up my phone and it was like, oh my God. Because at that time, the phone doesn't ring anymore.
Yeah.
Phone doesn't ring and I can't leave a message. And it hits you, it's just like, he is really gone.
Yes. Yes. I've had that.
Wow. Yeah. And so one day I'm doing something, I'm cleaning up something, um, and I found a letter. When I was in the military, my dad has a beautiful handwriting, and he had wrote me a three-page letter. Do you know that letter is still with me to this day?
That's
And I was like, oh my God. So it's little things like that. But I believe like our parents, mother, dad, sister, brother, they will always be in our hearts,
yeah.
and so that's what keeps me going. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have spent as much time as I did with my dad. I'm
Yes.
grateful for him showing me and teaching me the things that he did. I'm grateful for the love that the unconditional love that was taught, the unseen love, the love that you know that is there. So I'm grateful for all of those. And I'm just, I'll tell you, and I know that you'll understand it, but nobody's better than my dad.
Yes, yes, yes,
So, and I know you understand that.
I
So
do.
it's amazing. But I will ask you a question if it's okay.
Absolutely.
And that is, I have never heard of a death doula.
Really.
No, I've heard of doulas that help people have babies. So when you said that, I was like, I'm going to ask her about that. Can you share that?
Sure. And first of all, I got to talk more about it because clearly I'm not sharing enough. So, but a death doula is similar to a birthing doula. Birthing doulas bring life in, and we are there as life is exiting. We are there to support the individual who is dying, to encourage a person, get in the bed with your dad, hug your dad, talk to your dad. If your dad doesn't have the language, we might be there to say, Mr. James, Willie D, tell me something about Brenda, or whatever it is, something to help get the conversation going.
Mhm.
We are there to create ritual. We are there to help with visuals. We're there to help make meaning with legacy stories, writing letters, recording messages so that when a person is gone, a loved one or a family member has those legacy documents, letters, or any type of project to cherish and remember their father, mother, family member. We are there to help the individual who's dying make meaning. You would be surprised at the people who may have stood behind the pulpit or believed in God their whole life. When they get to the very end, they question God a whole lot. We live our whole lives knowing we're going to die, and then when death gets here,
Yeah.
we don't believe it, we don't want it, we want to live. And I help people to realize that you will continue to live through your legacy, through the contributions you make in this moment. So when you talked about being in bed with your dad, looking at National Geographic, troubleshooting to fix a lawnmower, loving to cut grass because of what you learned, all of those things we help people to reflect on at the end of their life, because in many cases, people are so afraid, so overwhelmed, and so disappointed that death has come. And it's not, like you said, it's not, it's a part of life.
Yes.
It is sad. I'm not going to say it's not sad. That's what I was getting ready to say. But it's also a beautiful, it can be a beautiful transition. And we are there every step of the way to help people emotionally, physically, psychosocial, however help is needed. A death doula is there. End of life planning should really start at 18 years old. Those conversations early on relieves a whole lot of burden and heartache and headache toward the end of someone's life, because you can honor their wishes because you've
Hmm.
had the conversations. So death doulas facilitate conversations to make
Okay.
sure, because people don't want to talk about death, just like I was with my dad. It like, oh, see you tomorrow, talk to you tomorrow. We don't want to talk about death. And so we help individuals who may have chronic conditions or have been diagnosed with a life-threatening condition, young people who are healthy, have conversations. My mission at Sacred Moments is to normalize death and end-of-life conversations, to normalize love, legacy, and grief conversations, and to get people to thinking about what they want. So, for instance, when I die, my children should know this, but I want a green burial. I don't want to be embalmed. I don't want a big fancy casket. Ideally, I want a cardboard casket. And you know how when you have a cast or break a bone, people write on your cast, the old school cast, they don't really do that anymore. I want people to write messages on my cardboard casket. Bring some colored pencils, let the kids color, draw a
Yeah.
picture, and let individuals, grown-ups write messages, and then put me in the ground and let my body naturally decompose along with that cardboard casket that's going to naturally decompose. The My body gives back to the earth even after I'm gone, right? And so again, death doulas are similar to birthing
Mm.
doulas. We are
Oh,
there. I call myself a friend till the end. Most people are in hospice for 6 months or less. Usually, when you're in hospice, it's supposed to be 6 months or less. Most people are in hospice way less than 6 months. Um, but in that short period of time, I'm there to help people
no.
find ways to connect with their loved ones and to be present with them until the very end. I will also say that my grandmother was a death doula. She wasn't, and a birthing doula. She wasn't called and she a death doula, and she wasn't trained to be a birthing doula or a death doula. But back in the day, they had babies at home.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
People died at home, and those
Hmm.
death doulas were there to help communities when they
Hmm.
needed support, when they needed love, and when they needed someone to help you cross over that threshold. Started off as a health coach, and I'm a different kind of coach now. I'm a different kind of coach because this is really the same concept. It's coaching.
Yes,
The nutrition coaching, and in my career, I was a whole health coach. And as a whole health coach, they teach to look at the whole picture with a patient and ask the patient what matters to you rather than looking at what's the matter with you.
yes,
So you
yes.
empower the patient to think
Hmm.
about, why would I change my diet? And we talked about that at the beginning of this, all the positive aspects, how the weight just dropped off,
Hmm.
how your energy came back, how you found Brenda again.
Yes.
And so putting the person in the middle, and from all of that previous experience as a health coach and a whole health coach, I can now bring my whole self um, to this practice as a death doula and help people to focus on what matters to them rather than what's the matter. I'm
What's the
dying.
matter?
Yes, you're dying. I'm going to die one day too. But
Yeah.
today you're still alive. Today
Hmm.
you still have the opportunity to share
Right
with your
now.
family. Today, you have the opportunity to forgive, the opportunity to heal relationships. End of life planning is helping people to, again, get their advanced care directives in order. And so, helping people to have conversations and get those plans in place before it's too late. That's
Yes.
especially important to me. And
Hmm.
so, those are the ways in which death doulas work with individuals.
Wow. I learned something today.
Couldn't, after he died, I'm like, there's something I want to, like, how do I remember him? How do I honor him? Is there a phrase? Is there advice that I could just hold on to? And it took me the longest to just find a bit of advice. And I can remember as a young girl, he would always say to me, take inventory of your life. He was like, if you don't like something, take inventory of your life. Look at your life. And if you don't like it, change it. And
Hmm.
that's the foundation of my business is Sacred Moments. Take inventory of your life, all of us,
Hmm.
as you're
Hmm.
doing your end of life plan. So is there any advice or any saying or anything that you hold on to today other than
Yes.
cutting grass? Because I know that that's a ritual, it sounds like.
Yes. So thank you for asking that question because I kind of left that out when I was talking about getting into bed with him and we were sharing a couple of things. When my sister asked me what to do, and I said, go and get him. And I said, I will coach you through bringing him back to where he needs to be. I said, now I know that he's not going to like it. So I changed his entire diet and with my sister's help, the smoothies and all of this, And she said, yeah, he was upset. So that's why when she said, Dad wants to see you, I'm like, mm-mm, no, no, no. Well, when I was in bed with him, we was having our final conversations. He said, his question to me was, baby girl, how did you know? How did you know how to
Mm.
help me? And I told him my story, what was happening, what had happened to me, and all of that. He said, well, do me a favor. Do not ever stop because you have actually brought me to a place to now I can go ahead and transition. I feel good. I can talk and I can do so whatever you're doing, if you just help one person, and that's what you heard me say. If I could just help one person, I'm good. I was
It's
thinking
bringing
about
tears to my eyes.
and that's what he said, do not stop. And so, and when his favorite word, when he said, do not stop, now this, you might laugh at what he said next. He said, because one of them scoundboogers gonna need you. So my dad used to use this word called scoundbooger. I don't even know how to spell it. It's just a phrase that he would use when people didn't really understand. That's the only word. If someone to this day, if I heard someone walk past or someone say scoundbooger, it would stop me in my tracks. I probably would cry because that is his word. I don't even really use. Sometimes me and my brother will use it when we're talking about him.
Yes.
And I said, remember when Daddy used to call them people scoundboogers? It always would make me laugh. Why? He said, because they didn't know any better. So yeah, that's what. And so when I'm helping someone, um, and I'm gonna share another story. I'm getting that because it's coming from that place from my king who says, always help, whatever you
Yes.
can do. So one day I decided I was going to hire a business coach because I was like, I need some help and to really understand the background parts of the business and all of that. So this one particular young lady, I had been watching her and I was like, oh, I'm going to contact her to see, what can she do to help me. And when I contacted her, she's like, "Oh yes, I've been watching you, and I'm glad that you reached out to me because I can definitely help you. But this is the first thing that you have to commit to because there's something that you're doing that I do not like, and you should not be doing that in the business world." And her exact words were, "Stop giving shit away." She said. She said, "You give too much away. Those people, you're gonna drown helping, and then next thing you know, you're doing things for free and all of that." And
You
I said,
even mailed essential oils to me for free. It's samples of essential oils, but go ahead.
so when she did that, I stopped. I said, let's go ahead and disconnect because we're not going to be able to work together because you don't know the place where that freeness is coming from.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah, so that freeness is coming from my dad. He always taught us, you help. You always, if you can help somebody, you help them. If you are in need, you don't worry about that. Take inventory of your life. That person, you don't even know who that person is. You don't
Right.
even know what that person can one day be your blessing. You never know, but you don't do it because of that. You do it because people need help. And so
Yes.
that's why you get the free oils. You get a free oil, you get a free oil, you get a free oil. you
Yes, you
know.
gave everybody in that challenge of the free oils, and I think I love your why. So I want to share a bit of our story that is kind of the same, but
Yeah.
different. When my dad had his strokes, he had six in a row, and he wasn't able to walk. I was there with him during his physical therapy, and he's like, "This is so hard." And I kept asking him, "Dad, please don't give up." In 2008, when he had those strokes and walking became very hard for him, he gave up and he was paralyzed the next 8 years until he died. Um, in 2014, when he died, that's when I went to IIN. I became a health coach after my dad died. And listening to your story and the testimony and your why for doing what you do is very encouraging to me. So thank you for sharing. So the grief, I went through grief for a long time because after I took care of everybody else, then I had to come home and sit with myself
Yeah.
and figure, you know, just think I left my dad in the hospital. I knew better. I work at the VA and the chief of staff advice he gave me when I was young in the VA, he's like, never leave your loved one in the hospital alone. I had to forgive myself. I didn't take that advice. I left my dad in the hospital alone. I even wondered, did they kill him? Right? And I'm sure they didn't, but all of these thoughts were going through my head
Yeah.
because I left my dad in the hospital alone. And so it doesn't sound like you had a really tough grieving process afterwards.
I actually did. um, so, like I said, after the funeral and everything, I'm there for everybody. You probably would have looked at me like, is she okay? Because, she's smiling, she's comforting everyone else and all that. And then I get home and I'm having a really tough time, and I can't believe that he actually died. Well, one day he showed up in my dream, but I never saw his face. So
Hmm.
in the dream, he was talking to me. And we had a family reunion coming up that year. And in the dream, I said, Dad, I know you're here. And in my dream, it was just darkness. And I said, can I see you? And he said, no, you cannot. I said, come on, Dad. He said, Brenda, I cannot show you what I look like right now. He said, but the only reason why I'm here is I need you to do something for me. And I said, yeah. I said, oh, yes, I will do it for you, Dad. You came to the right one. He said, okay, baby girl, I need you to let me go.
Oh.
Oh my God. Oh, I lost it. I'm about to lose it. I was angry because how could he say that to me? And so I had to keep my word, right? It's
Mm.
like, let me go. So I got on the phone. I woke up and I called my siblings. I called my mom. I was screaming because, you can call them and connect on the phone. And I said, you all are not going to believe what daddy just did to me. I was going off. And I said, he finally showed up in the dream and he asked me to do something for him. And he know I'm gonna do it. He know I'm gonna do it. And I was just going off. I don't even know all the things that I was saying. And I remember my mom said, what did he ask you to do? I said, he asked me to let him go. And then my sister, she was on the phone and she's like, Brenda? I said, no, no, I don't want to hear it. And it was like right when I got off the phone, my brother, Jarvis, that he knew to immediately get in his car and drive to my house. And he knows how to get in my house. And so I look and he's standing there. And because he knew, okay, Brenda's about to have a nervous breakdown.
Mhm.
It was terrible. As you say, I still can't get past that. So yes, I did. I still do. I'm going to sleep. Sometimes I'll go to sleep even now. It's like I will go to bed at 6 and 7 o'clock at night. I love to sleep, by the way. I tell everybody, I think I'll be traveling places when I sleep. But sometimes I do it hoping that he will come back and say,
Mm.
hey, I know that was hard on you. You don't have to let me go. But he hasn't. So I'm like, wow. So do I get upset? I'm going through all of these emotions, and I'm trying to remember and all of that. So I'm very excited because next week, the 17th, is his birthday. So he and I share a birthday in February. So, so yeah, I do go through the grieving. I've never questioned that. I know what I heard of him letting me go. Um, and I will say that I know that I did, but let him go to a certain degree. Um,
Yeah, I was going to ask you what that means for you to let go,
yeah,
or what you
because
think he meant.
what I was doing was remember when I said that he would show up in my dream? When my dad, whenever he would show up, he would never talk. If I saw him as I know him, the way he looked, he would never talk. He would just maybe point to something, but I never would hear his voice. So what I had started doing was going to sleep, hoping that he'll show up. Because I was like, oh, I'm going to go to bed. Ooh, if that's the way I get to see him, I'm going to bed. So with that, my life kind of stopped. I wouldn't go around anybody. Um, it was like pictures of him all throughout the house. I'm waking up. Good morning, Dad. How's heaven? Hey, did you go to heaven, Dad? Do you know if you're going? What's it? I was doing all that, but I would never tell my siblings. I was like, this is just my relationship with my dad who has transitioned. Because I
Yeah.
didn't even want to say who died on me or who died, or, who transitioned. So I would talk to him that way, like, how was your travels? Were they safe? Did you run into anybody? Did you see anybody that pissed you off in this life that you wanted to confront? I was doing all of those types of things. So, but when he came to the dream and said, let him go, it was like, I was telling my family, how do I do that?
Yeah.
How do I do that? And so I gathered up all the pictures and I put them away. My dad had flannel pajamas that I still have to this day that I would wear. I knew to stop doing that, doing stuff like that. So I started doing that and moving forward, doing things that I know that my dad would have wanted me to do because of the love that he has for his children. I
Yeah.
know now that he wouldn't want me sitting around sad. He wouldn't want me to be crying. He would want us to continue to help people. So it was remembering his legacy. And
Yes.
that is what helped me to move on. And then another that helped me to move on is I am his child. So he is still in my heart. So he is a part of me anyway.
Yes.
So that's what helps me to move forward, to
That
let go, so to speak.
one of the first things I did, and I don't remember what year this was because he was a chef. I organized, and I did it 2 years in a row, organized an event at So Others Might Eat, which is a soup kitchen for
Hmm.
homeless people. And um, I purchased food. Uh, I have a friend who's a chef. I asked him to cook the food, and then I invited all of my friends to come and serve the food in honor of my dad. So I had a DJ. It was around Mardi Gras. It was around this time of the year. We had beads and wear more Mardi Gras colors, and that was one thing I did to honor him. And then the next year I did it again. And I told myself, okay, we're going to do something every year, but I haven't done something that I haven't done that. I've done something every year. Like, what are you doing to keep his memory, or are you doing anything to keep his memory alive today? I have an altar. My dad's picture is on the altar. I pass by and I say hello. I still talk to him. But
Yeah.
do you do anything like that? And how long did it take you to get through that grief?
It took about 5 years as well. It must be something magical about that 5 years. And what I started doing, and I never really would have shared, but it was, things that I know that he would have wanted me to do, things that would help me as far as honoring him. So I became a visiting friend at the nursing homes. So I would go to the nursing homes in Clinton and places like that, and I would tell them that, introduce myself as a health coach, but I was wondering, was there anyone in the nursing home that didn't have any family that would come to see them? And so that's how I became a visiting friend. And, the people didn't know, who I was or anything like that, but I would just go in their room and whatever they were doing, I would color with them and I would do things like that. And then COVID happened. And
Yes.
I couldn't. I started a nonprofit. Um, it's called Project Feed and Hope. The purpose of it was to find ways to get food, clothing, and stuff to people, regardless of who they were, regardless of their income, if they are just in need, to just give it. So I met this farmer. I saw him, they were honoring him on CNN. I said, I see stuff like that. And it's just amazing how things work. So, some kind of way during 2020, um, my daughter, she introduced me to this guy because he was talking business, and my daughter talks business. And she said, Mom, I want you to meet this guy. And so I'm on the phone talking to this guy and everything. And I was telling him about the nonprofit and what I wanted to do and all that. He was like, oh my God, I need to put you in touch with my dad. And I was like, just to hear him say dad, and he said,
That
yeah,
is
I need to put you in touch with my dad. He would love to talk to you. And so I said, okay. And he said, well, I'm gonna send you a link so you'll know who he is. But if you don't mind, he is going to call you. And so when he gave me the link and I got off the phone, it was the same guy that I saw on CNN, Richard Joyner, Reverend Richard Joyner, who lives in North Carolina. And so it was amazing. He
that
said,
is amazing.
yeah, so he called me and he said, "Oh, young lady, we got work to do. You've been doing a lot. I've been watching you." And I was like, really? So he told me his whole story, son of a sharecropper, and he's a minister in the church in North Carolina. Um, and he said that I am so glad to connect with you because being a minister in church, I'm standing in the pulpit, but I'm having funerals like almost every week. Young people are dying. He ended up acquiring that land and he grows the food and he gives it away for free. So
Wow.
what he said was, all I need you to do is show up. And you promise me when I give you this food, you give it away. Do not sell it. And so I was like, that's honoring my dad. And it makes me feel so good. And I know that my dad is smiling, like, ah, she gets it. That's
Yes.
how you do it. Yeah, because
Yes.
I see these people and then I connect with them. Some kind of way I connect with them. I still kind of think that maybe my dad has something to do with it. That's just me though. Someone say, "Oh, girl," but
But
I
no,
just,
your dad has everything to do with it because all of the values, all of the responsibility for community, for loving yourself, for loving family, all of the values that your dad has lived and been an example of for you and has taught you, they're in you. He planted all of those seeds
I
in
believe,
you.
I believe that.
Yes, and so your dad is still with you because of the work that he did when you were a child, because
Yeah,
of the love he showed your mother, the love, the competition between you and your siblings about who he loves the most, right? He was showing up for all of you in a way that was meaningful for each and every one of you. He was setting that great example, even when those great examples were like, you can't compete with my dad. I don't know if
yeah,
we and so he set that high standard. He's a man of excellence. You refer to him as your king. He is your king.
that's
And
right.
so he's still here in
Yeah,
you, in
yeah.
Jarvis, in all of your siblings.
Hmm. I
Yes.
believe that. I really do. I really do. Now that you put it that way,
Absolutely.
that's that legacy. That's me shining that light on him. That's me again practicing gratitude. No, he's not here in the flesh, but he is here.
And I
Yeah.
think what's also so beautiful is how, you asked your sister to get your dad from the hospital because you knew that's what he wanted. Like end of life planning, that communication part, like your dad didn't want to be in the hospital. You honored his wishes, and that's what end of life planning is all about, honoring the wishes of the people we love, but we got to know them first.
Mhm.
And just want to add that death doulas are there before, during, and after death because there's a
Okay.
whole lot of wrapping up to be done after death. But
Mhm.
you knew those wishes, and you and your sister loved not only one another so much. She trusted you. She
Yeah.
she went and she got your dad. She listened to your guidance and helped to nurse him back to health. And he was able to share. God gave him more time so
Yes.
that he could leave that wisdom and that love with you and each of your siblings. Like, I just think that part of the love story, this is Black Love Day, that part of the
Yeah.
Black love story is so beautiful. Family trusting one another to care, being vulnerable, doing what we don't even, you said you knew he was not going to be happy about changing his diet and doing
Yeah.
things the way, but he did it. He trusted you, he was vulnerable enough to share with you. He was vulnerable enough to allow your sister to take care of him. I just think that is so beautiful. I just want to read something now about Black love because
Okay.
there are 5 tenets of Black love, and it's love for self, and love for family, love for community, love for the creator, and love for the Black race. And Naya Akoma is the phrase that literally means get heart. It's a Guyanese phrase that means get heart. It's an Andrika symbol, and its deeper meaning is to take heart, to be patient, to be tolerant, and to love deeply. Everything you described aligns
Mhm.
with this symbol and these tenets of Black love. And so, today is Black Love Day, and
Yeah.
it's a day that invites us to reflect on how love shows up in our lives, especially through family and our lineage. And fathers hold a very unique place in that
Yes.
story.
This has been very, I'm going to use the word I always use, amazing.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time
Thank
to.
you. Thank you. Even though this is Black Love, and to be able to talk about my dad and his birthday is next Tuesday, it's like a prelude, like, ooh, daddy.